Hey everyone, welcome into another edition of the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. I'm Tim McMaster, and we're lucky to have stepping into the cage today Brewers reliever Will Smith. First of all, Will, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, and fans, you know how to get involved with the Chatting Cage. You can press that button on your screen and actually get some FaceTime with Will Smith, or use Twitter, use that hashtag Chatting Cage. You can also use the MLB Fans app to get your questions in that way. We're going to start, Will, on Twitter, and the first question comes from JJ Nader. He wants to know, what's been the biggest moment of your major league career so far?
Uh, you gotta say your debut. You work so hard for it. It's what you dream about your entire life. Is finally stepping on that big league field and facing big league hitters. So I made my debut in New York. I'd never been there before. First time in a big city. So it's something I'll never forget.
I always wonder the difference between making a home debut versus a road debut. That's pretty cool, though, to do it in New York City, no question. We're waiting for a fan to get involved here, along with Will Smith, as we just getting started out here in the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. Fans, press that button. Get in line. Get your own questions on the air here as we plug along. As we wait for that fan, we're going to go back to a little more social media, Will. And Norman Jenkins wants to know, what's your favorite road park to pitch in?
Road park to pitch in. Any place that's like really big. Detroit, they've got a big field. Kansas City has a big field. I like the big ballpark, so you get in those hitter counts, you can just throw a fastball and see if they'll hit it out.
Yeah, and you call home a hitter's park, I guess, in Milwaukee. The ball likes to get out of there a little bit.
Yeah, you could say that. So yeah, we deal with that a little bit, but it's not too bad.
All right, it is a great time, Milwaukee, Miller Park, a great ballpark to see a game at as we wait to get a fan involved. And we have a fan on the line right now. If you can tell us what's your name, where are you from, and go ahead with your question for Will Smith.
I'm Matthew from New Jersey. I want to know, how hard was it to make the transition when you got traded from the Royals to the Brewers?
Honestly, it's really not that bad. Just because baseball's kind of a small world. We run into these guys in the minor leagues a lot. We come up with some of them. So when you get here, a few familiar faces and this and that. So making the transition is really not that hard. It can be sometimes, but for the most part, you've already got some sort of friendship with at least one or two guys on another team. So they kind of help you out once you get in the clubhouse.
It's that time of the year, certainly, as well. Less than a couple of weeks until that trade deadline, Will. And as we go back to social media, we stick with that theme. All Castings wants to know, how does everyone in the clubhouse stay focused during the trade deadline season?
Um, you know, it's a business. We know it's something that happens during the year every year. For there's always one or two guys in each clubhouse it's in everybody's talks. But we know we have to show up every day and get ready to win and beat the other team. So you can't really get too wrapped up into it, or else you'll lose your focus on the field. So if you can just stay focused on winning tonight's game, that's all really you can do.
And then on August 2nd, you kind of know, you look around the clubhouse, you know who's still there, and you kind of move on with the season for sure. We're going to check in now on that MLB fan app now, and we have a question from I Am Royal. He wants to know, Will, have you ever slid down the tube where Bernie the Brewer slides after Brewers home runs?
No, I have not. I actually don't think we're allowed to do that. I'm not 100% sure on that. But that was one of the first questions I asked in 2014 was if when I was allowed to slide down the slide, and they kind of just like, yeah, we'll let you know kind of answer. So I don't know if we're actually allowed to do it.
Written into the contract there in fine print. No basketball in the offseason and no sliding down Bernie's slide. That's excellent stuff. I'm just excited that you asked the question. That's enough for me, that it came to your mind that you wanted to slide down the slide.
Oh, yeah.
This is the Edward Jones Chatting Cage, and we have a fan ready to go. If you can go ahead and tell us your name, where you're from, go ahead with your question for Will Smith.
My name is Josh, and I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. And I'd like to ask Will Smith who his favorite player was growing up.
Ooh, favorite player growing up. I grew up in Georgia, so I watched the Braves a lot. Tom Glavine was up there. John Smoltz was up there. Greg Maddux. Those three guys were, you got to love those guys. Being a Braves fan growing up, watching them work every night. But once I got older, I started liking Randy Johnson a lot. For some reason, I love Bob Gibson. He's one of my all-time favorites. Yeah, that's probably it.
Yeah, that's a pretty good core that you were able to watch growing up there in Atlanta on those great Braves pitching staffs. All right, now it's time for the EDJ question of the day, Will. And today's EDJ question of the day, what team do you get most fired up to pitch against and beat?
I'd probably say anybody in our division, just because our fans love us so much. They're so dedicated. They're there through the good times and bad times. So anytime you could beat, a St. Louis or a Pittsburgh, a really good baseball team in our division, Chicago, those are always fun games to win, not just for us, but just to give back to the fans a little bit too.
Yeah, and it's such a great division in my mind because of the teams you have there and a lot of those teams with history, and it's not that far from one city to the other. And they're also teams that I feel like have rivalries in other sports as well. So that NL Central is really special. Let's go back to the MLB fan app now, Will, and Carlo5V wants to know, does it bother you when you Google your name and a very famous actor pops up instead of yourself? You knew this was coming.
Oh, yeah. I knew eventually a Will Smith joke would come. No, it doesn't bother me. It is what it is, I guess.
I know in the off season of spring training, you filmed a little Fresh Prince and DJ Jazzy Jeff thing, right?
Oh yeah, Our PR girl Caitlin Moyer, she does a good job of that. Our whole team does. They love using my name and trying to get Will Smith to come visit and stuff. But I tell everybody he's too famous for that.
Excellent stuff. I assume you're never really mistaken for Will Smith on the street, but you also have a better fastball than him. I will say that. So we are waiting.
Yeah.
We have another fan ready to go here, Will, on the Edward Jones chatting cage. Fan, if you can just tell us your name, where you're from, go ahead with your question for Will Smith.
Hey, Will, I'm Connor from Massachusetts, and I was wondering, what's your warm-up routine like before you go out there?
Let's see. I stay inside till the fourth inning. I take a heat pack the first inning. I get stretched the second inning, and I ride the bike in the third inning. And then I'll go out in the fourth, hang out with the guys for an inning, and once the fifth inning rolls around, we know all down there that it's time to stop playing and start getting to work. Around the sixth inning, I'll start stretching, going through my little routine with a band and a weighted ball, and then after that, it's 8 pitches on the mound, and I'm ready to go.
Well, that was the serious routine and what you do to get ready for baseball. As we go back to Twitter, though, All Rain 4543 wants to know: do you have any weird rituals or superstitions?
When I'm in the clubhouse, I gotta have a Red Bull on ice now, thanks to Ryan Braun. He showed me that one, and for some reason it tastes different, and I don't know. I've got to have that, or else the routine feels just a little bit off.
All right, so keep the Red Bull cold. That's the key.
Oh yeah.
All right, we have another fan getting ready to go here on the Edward Jones chatting cage. You can press that Get in Line button and get involved yourself. Get your question in to Will Smith. Here's the fan. If you can just tell us your name, where you're from, and you can go ahead with your question for Will Smith.
Hey, I'm Hunter from Philadelphia, and I was wondering, who's the funniest person in the Brewers clubhouse?
Funniest person? I don't know. Our bullpen's pretty funny. We got a funny bullpen. When you get us all together, we cut up with each other and joke around a lot. So I'd say the bullpen's pretty funny.
And that's what you need, right? You guys spend a lot of time out there not pitching in the bullpen. You got to have a fun time. You got to have the jokes, certainly. We're waiting for another fan here on the Edward Jones chatting cage. You can get in line as well. And, Will, I know you had during the off season as well, we'll get into it maybe in a little bit, the mama jokes from your mom. Another way to be funny in that bullpen. Here's our fan. If you can just tell us your name, where you're from, and go ahead with your question for Will Smith.
My name is Shannon. I'm from South Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And Will, I'm just wondering, who's one of the toughest batters you faced in your relief position?
Toughest batters. First, I mean, you got to think of Rizzo with Chicago. I always enjoy facing him just because it is a tough AB. There's no secrets between us. He knows what I have. I know what he has. So those are always fun ABs for me. You know, facing Harper is always fun. He gives you a good AB. You know, you like guys that are big name guys. That's why you play the game. You play the game to go up against the best. So it's always fun facing, you know, the guys that have won MVPs and have a ton of homers and all that stuff.
Yeah, Rizzo's certainly in that MVP discussion this year. I mentioned the Mom Joke Mondays, Will. That was a spring training thing. Where did that come from?
That was just one day me, Lucroy, and JJ were in the outfield, and I just told them a joke, and they started laughing, and then it caught on from there. And then my mom actually sent me an email full of jokes, and then she would send me some through text, and it just kind of went from there. With Brett Phillips and his laugh, it took off.
Yeah, it certainly became a big hit. Well, we are out of time, Will. Great stuff. Thanks for stepping into the cage and taking some time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, that's going to do it for another edition of the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. Tune in again next time.